let's say this is all very theory based, like 10 people apply for a job. They all have your amount of experience. They all have your educational background, graduated in the same year from the same school. Like everything is equal except for the about section. Well, then in that theoretical case, the about section we are kind of live now. This is what I always wanted to say. We are live.
And we're officially live.
We are officially live, exactly. I mean, this is just an experiment. We have discussed quite a few things, lots of tips and tricks. And I think if we continue with what you mentioned earlier, like you said, okay, we have hero section. This is part of the hero section. And then after the hero section, you do such and such and such for your landing page. Mm-hmm. What's a step-by-step guide for someone who's looking to create their first portfolio? So I would say start with a quote-unquote business card on your website. So just the hero section plus the H1 subtitle and a button. That can take a week's worth of work just to get right copy-wise. But what's step 2? Like imagine someone only has a hero section. What should they add as a second step to expand their sapling portfolio?
So I think what's the most important part is after the hero section is the case studies. And it starts, again, I'm a stickler for titles. It starts with the title. Okay. So again, going back to the fact that you have 2 minutes around to get someone's attention, having a clear title to your case studies is super important. And it can't be redesigned a social media app. It doesn't have anything tangible to it. And I've seen it very often, these generic titles that don't do what they should. And what they should do is communicate the impact you had on that particular product or feature. Mm-hmm. So it's less of redesigned a thing, a social media app, which is generic, but it could be redesigned social media app, which resulted in 20% increase in conversion. That could be your title because it's something tangible, like reading it. Like if I'm going through your homepage and then you're featuring snippets of your case studies, having that as a title, those types of titles encourage the click to kind of check out that particular portfolio. And it also speaks to the value that you give as a designer.
Yes. It's basically, you have to speak the business person language, and they basically have 3 or 4 things that they care about that you can mirror in a way in the title. So they have something that's taking too long, should be quicker. Something is expensive, it should be cheaper. And something is very error prone, and it should be more robust, which is which has a lot of overlap with the ones before, because error prone process is expensive. So if you mention something like that, and then or a fourth one being about growth, more users, more conversions, more money. Like that's something you should include there. And then I assume the subtitle works the same as in the hero section. You expand a little bit more about that title, just to give it a bit more body. And from there, you click on it to go to a case study page more in detail.
Yeah, exactly. I think you nailed it.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we talk about case studies, might be a whole different episode that because I think we can talk for hours to dissect a real, strong case study page. But if we look at a 1-page portfolio first, just to make it a bit easier for a complete beginner, we have hero section, an overview of case studies. What comes next, if anything, on your homepage?
Of a teaser or a little bit about me. So I think it's important to, beyond just your work, and as part of like that brand statement in the H1, it's, if I'm the hiring manager, if I'm hiring someone, I'd love to get along with the person. Like I want to imagine, or I want you to paint the picture for me of like how it would be to work with you. It could also be some things outside of work, like what you enjoy outside of your product design or designer life. Just painting the picture in their head of who you are as an individual in work, but also a bit of outside of work as well.
Right.
I find like showing who you are as like your authentic human self is super key.
Right.
That's what I kind of do. And well, I also put in a couple of jokes in my about me section, but just, just make sure that I don't look like a robot. I'm curious what
Right.
you do.
Yeah. Well, again, to appear more human, right? Well, what I think is it's very important. Let's say this is all very, theory based. Like 10 people apply for a job. They all have your amount of experience. They all have your educational background, graduated in the same year from the same school. Like everything is equal except for the about section. Well, then in that theoretical case, the about section makes all the difference. So a funny joke that makes you be remembered is super important. So I agree with that there. I would also be careful, because I wouldn't expect a picture of you, without a shirt, sitting on someone's shoulder somewhere in a disco. I don't know, but something like that. It has to be professional still. What I have on my website is something more about personal impact outside of design tools. So when you go to my website, you have the about section starts with like two visuals, left, right. Mm-hmm. The first one is just a scribble. Like imagine someone out of control is just doodling something, a line that's all tangled up. It's almost spaghetti-like. And then there's an arrow to the right. And then you have the same line, but it's a nice loop that goes from bottom left to top right. And then above the title is something like From This to That. And then I explain, like I take people, I help you go from unstuck, don't know what to do, to clarity and results and moving forward. So it's more about my way of working that I mentioned there, accompanied with 2 testimonials. And then not testimonials about Nick was very good with Figma, but really about the thing I just explained, like taking people by the hand and helping them go from A to B. So carefully curated testimonials together with a visual that explains my way of working. I think that's my version of the About Me section. And it has a button that goes to the full About Me page where there's everything about me. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I think you said something very important is the testimonials part. Mm-hmm. Especially for, like, I think this should be top of mind for someone who's junior, just starting out, who doesn't have testimonials. Your goal, if let's say, for example, you're doing the freelance route, make sure that once you complete projects, you're gathering testimonials. This is the thing that just adds like social, like credibility to who you are, and then collecting those testimonials from project to project and having that testimonial bank, if you were, super crucial, because you can sprinkle it throughout everything that you do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think it's a strategy that you should have. It's perhaps the biggest benefit I've had from working in a large corporation for years before I became a freelancer. They had a employee review cycle every year, year-end reviews and that kind of stuff. So at the end of the year, everyone would go to clients to, hey, we worked together this year in June until August. Do you remember me? Do you? And can you write something nice about how we work together? And that's the whole stressful period because they want you to have a few of those testimonials. But what I learned at that moment is to just do that cycle of reviewing and testimonials whenever a project ends. Not at the end of the year, but whenever someone's happy with you, like, hey, Nick, that's really great design. Well done. Thank you. And then, that project is finished. And then a few days later, you can come back and say, like, hey, that thing you mentioned, can I use that as a testimonial? And then so very naturally, you start collecting them. I just collected 2 or 3 recently because because of what I just mentioned. And it's a good motivational boost as well. Like it feels good to have someone say something nice about you. So yeah, I have a good list of testimonials. And as you say, when you do free work, when you try to get started, the testimonial is part of your payment.
100%.
Yeah. At some point, you can create a testimonial page. That's something I did recently for my website.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think lots of SaaS or landing pages, they overdo it. They have a wall of testimonials. Like, does it really matter if you have 3 versus 300? Sometimes people think more is better, but people don't read it. So I show one at a time, or perhaps two. And then if you want to see more, you can go to a dedicated page just to prevent people from having to scroll too much, read too much. All right, but if we circle back, hero section, case studies, about me, testimonials. Those are 4 super important parts that you should have on your landing page. I am not the best person on camera. It's getting better, but it used to be way worse. What I mean specifically is me talking on my own. I mean, we're having a conversation that's perfectly fine, and I'm enjoying it a lot. But if you weren't here and I have to record myself, like that's really challenging for me. But again, it's getting better. But what I want to say is that having a good mic and a good camera has been, the ROI has been great. For example, for a project recently, someone just posted on LinkedIn, like, hey, I'm looking for a designer for X amount of work, and this is what I tried to accomplish. I reached out, and a week later, I got a message back like, hey, Nick, thanks, but I'm getting so many messages. It's overwhelming. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself? And at that point, I figured like, okay, lots of people, lots of text. He's not going to read everything. Let me record a video and send it over. And a day later, it turns out I am in the top 3 candidates. And they invited me for a meeting, and everything went smoothly from that moment forward. So yeah, just an example of recording yourself. I think it's a big differentiator. It's very useful. So learn it if you can. Invest into it if you can. So I replied, and they sent me a message like, hey, Nick, tons of messages. Sorry about that. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself? Mm-hmm. So at that moment, I want to reply, but I was like, well, he mentions already getting lots of messages. Probably not going to read my whole wall of text. So instead, I recorded a video releasing it like, hello, and I'm the guy's name. I'm Nick, and this is my work. This is what I do, blah, blah, blah. Showing your face, making a joke, send it over. And the next day I got a message back like, hey, Nick, you are one of the 3 people we're going to invite for a meeting. And I think, showing the video was one of the main reasons why that was possible. So yes, big fan of having video where you can. And if I can do it, I'm sure you can do it as well. You being a random listener, I was very introverted. I don't like speaking in front of a camera. And now it's going well enough that people like the video enough to invite me for a meeting. So yeah, you can do it too. So all 4 video if you can.
It's a skill that you'll have to kind of build over time as you, it's part of your job, right? So part of what we do is not only kind of come up with solutions, design things, but it's also presenting our work.
Yeah.
And then that's just a snapshot or a taste of how it might be to work with the potential person who's hiring you, or the company wants to engage with you.
Yes, I think so. And you can take it one step further, even to have a whole user flow for someone reaching out to you. I mean, you're a designer, so you probably know how to do it. If someone fills out your form, your contact form, and you get their email address, depending on what they fill out on the form, you can send specific emails back to them. But also, once they hit the submit button, redirect them to a thank you page. And on the thank you page, you can show a few highlights of your work. But even better, you can record a video to only show on the thank you page, where you say something like, hey, thanks for reaching out. I'm Nick. Very excited to talk to you in a little bit. Now that you're here, here's who I am. Show yourself a little bit, and it's another way to appear more human and more real and show your face. So have a thank you page, basically.
Definitely. Yeah. I think if you can, that'd be great. I mean, not mandatory, but I think it's a really valuable ad if you're able to present. Plus, also video increases retention, not only on YouTube, but also or on product pages, but also if you're selling yourself to, or selling your services to someone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there are only a few things you can do to stand out. You can, on one end, you can say like, well, it shouldn't be this hard, and that's true, and it is hard and it is challenging. But a quick video or something silly on your website or something extra will make you stand out instantly. And it's really going to be helpful. And even if one particular lead doesn't pan out, you still have built a tool for your tool belt. You make that video once, you can reuse it for many situations. You have that. I mean, I have, back in the day, I've created a book, portfolio book. And whenever I would go to a job interview in person still, I mean, that's how old I am. I still had to go to in-person job interviews back in the day. I would leave the book there, just so that they have something tangible, something real there. My name was on it and all my work was in it. You make that, you create a book once, you print it 10 times, and then you can reuse it, 10 times. So it's an investment in your career, and I think it's worth it. So I would really try and go the extra mile if you can, if finances allow it, and time that you have, of course. Yeah. Anything else? We have a hero section, case studies, about, testimonials, optional video. Is there anything we're missing before you go to the footer?
I think that's good. Like you don't want to over engineer it. Again, I think those are the key things. Hero, explaining who you are, case studies, showing that you can actually do the work, testimonials that'll back you up, giving you that credibility, and then footer. What goes in a footer? Or is it just, is there anything special there that we should be adding? Or is it just links or like a sitemap of your portfolio?
I think it's a mini hero. You have an H2 in that case, not an H1, where you call to action, literally. You can do something visual there as well. If you want to, I have, once you hit the footer, all sorts of design visuals that I made pop up and they start hovering and floating and there are logos everywhere. There's something happening, but again, it's a title plus subtitle plus call to action. So a condensed version of your footer. And then it's up to you and your personal preferences to decide what the call to action button should be. Like it could be a form instead of a button, but it could be a button that takes you to a form, or a button that opens an email client, or a WhatsApp button, or a phone number. That there's no right or wrong there. Some people prefer to be called. Some people prefer to get an email. Some people want to have someone schedule in their calendar right away. So yeah, pick what works for you. And then, as you say, a sitemap. Have your main navigation there, a few social media icons, a link to your about page, that kind of stuff. Keep it simple.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. The call to action is key there. Yeah, treat it like a second hero. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. I think for a version 1 of your portfolio, do the hero section only, get someone to review it, and then slowly but steady, reach out to people, work with people, collect your case studies for part 2. Now that I think of it, you could even do your case studies last. Like if you have a hero section, something about you, and then your footer, like that's enough as a version 0.2 while you work on your case studies. I wouldn't do a big bang release, like from nothing to full version 1. Have something so that people can find you, and then, iteratively build over time. Little bits and pieces every day or every week.
It's almost like a parallel to how we build things in product. So
yes,
similar strategies.
I mean, your portfolio is your first project, and how you design it, what it looks like, and the process behind it shows people also how you work. I mean, if you have attention to detail on your portfolio, I would assume that you do so as well in your day-to-day work. But if it looks sloppy and not cohesive, like that's not a good first impression.
I think there's a balance there. I think the trend oftentimes is because oftentimes designers take forever to do their portfolio.
Yeah.
What happens oftentimes in my coaching programs is just get, like to your point, a V.5 out. Pick, if you don't have a portfolio platform, if you're using WordPress, Webflow, whatever it is, get something out and then work on the polish as you're applying, because you'll spin and you'll never finish, because it's your project. We oftentimes spend more time on it because we don't have that CEO knocking, hey, I need my project. It can go on to be infinite.
Yeah. I mean, it's very scary to work on your own stuff. It's much easier to have feedback on someone else. With that being said, I think what's very interesting is that the episode after this one is you and I going to apply all what we just mentioned in the last 2 episodes on someone who reached out to us. I'm not sure if you saw, but someone commented on one of our videos that they liked our video and need a little bit of help. So I've been emailing back and forth with him, and now we are going to review his portfolio, apply all of these things we mentioned, live, recorded / live on a future episode. Very curious how that's going to be. So imagine that you're a junior designer and 2 very experienced designers are going to poke holes in your portfolio. I mean, I think it's going to be very helpful for him and a cool experiment for our, a new fledgling podcast.
Yes, definitely. I think we're just going to be applying some of the techniques that we've kind of gone over today and see how they might apply. And then also maybe some surprises along the way, depending on
for sure.
what we're seeing.
Yes. I mean, every portfolio is different. There will always be something new. And I don't know about you, but I learn myself while reviewing. Like, oh, that's interesting what they did there. And then you can apply a little bit of it for your own stuff. But more on that later. I think it's going to be a very exciting episode. A live design table. Yes, a live design table podcast review of someone's portfolio.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, same. See you then.
That was a great episode. So if you like this content and want to hear more, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, and if you want to see more, please go to designtablepodcast.com, Spotify, Apple Music, all the big players and more.